Hey, what's going on? It's your girl Kdot back in the Ripple Effect. You already know what it is, and you already know the vibes. Hey, shout out to all those supporters. I appreciate y'all. We still racking up the support all around. I've been in Miami. I've been in Orlando. I met some amazing people. With stories. Everybody's got a story. And it's beautiful too because you can definitely learn from it. I was online actually at Podfest. If you haven't heard, if you don't know about it, check it out. Especially for you future podcasters. It's an amazing multimedia expo event. It is presented by She Podcast Live. So many dope speakers, so many different people that can not only give you information, right, from based off of their experiences, and these are from successful podcasters, by the way. They can also give you info just about just life, what their experiences in terms of sponsorships and things of that nature. Because if you want to switch this to a more of a full time type of gig, because like everything else, we start this off, we're kind of like we're just messing around, right? It's a hobby. It's not something that we can see ourselves doing, full time, like quitting our jobs, things of that nature. It really depends on your situation, right? Because some people are lucky enough to not really be able to have that 9 to 5, and they can just totally put all their, focus and attention onto their craft, because I can tell you, first off, when I started, um, sports was always just a thing of mine ever since I was a child. But when you have a 9 to 5, it's kind of hard to take it seriously. You have a little bit of equipment, and it doesn't work all that well. Or um, when I first started, I actually had a studio available to me because I had attended a school in which I did receive a certificate in having to do with TV and broadcast journalism, things of that nature. And it's been great. Met some wonderful people there as well. But most importantly, I got to use their studio. I had access to equipment, getting to know the equipment and what do you need it for and why is this so important. And sometimes you take all that stuff for granted because if you just have it, you're kind of like, oh, so you just press the button or two, you adjust your seat, adjust your mic, and you're ready to go. Just press record and just start doing what you love. But it really wasn't that simple. Like once I didn't go there anymore, and I had to pretty much set up my own shop at home, just based off of, it was just too much for me to have to keep commuting back and forth there and work and and maintain everything else that's been going on in my life. So having to set up at home hasn't been the easiest. It's taken a bit. The equipment is not cheap at all, by no means. So it's not even just about having something to say. Maybe that's some people's problem, but that's never really been my issue. My issue's always been time management for one, two, equipment. It's money, expense. Being able to set aside a certain amount of money and then convincing yourself like, yo, you can do this. Not really worrying about what anybody else thinks and kind of going against the grain because unless you know millionaires out there, unless you know people that's really successful in your field, like they're not going to be as helpful. And what I needed to understand that wasn't necessarily a knock. It was just they don't know any better. Like that's all they know. So that's all they can tell you based off of, their experience. Like, yo, that's not something that's going to be, beneficial to you because you need benefits, you need this, you need that. When you're older, you can't necessarily just rely on, your energy and just kind of going on a whim. You actually have to have things stable, financially speaking. And the bills don't stop. They come every month. You know that, right? Like they come every month. They don't take a month off ever. So with all those things said, it is humbling and I am happy when I can sit back and look at all the things that I have. And of course, you can always do better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm set and I'm right where I want to be because I'm definitely far from that. But I am at a place where I can sit back and at least say, like, wow, like, look how far I've come. Like, look where I've been. Look at the people I've met. The events, the experiences. It's all been amazing. It's been a ride. That's really what it is when you're podcasting and you're out here meeting all these different people and you're traveling to do so. I mean, it's just awesome. And I've always been traveling even before the podcast experience. So it just kind of ties it all together in what I'm just trying to do. So man, I love it. I love it. I'm excited. But anyway, just to go back onto the Podfest and exactly what I've learned and what I've been doing. So something significantly happened to me just when I was standing online just to check in, just to register, get all your equipment. They give you a cute little map. They give you, a bag full of like possible sponsorships and different things that you can, get into on your own and, shoot your shot pretty much and see how that works out for you. And lovely hotel. Um, I believe it's the Renaissance Hotel. Don't quote me on that because I had to make a quick appearance and then I had to, skedaddle. So it'd be like that sometimes. But so anyway, like I said, when I was online checking in, I ran into this woman, right? Older woman by all intents purposes, looks pretty healthy, just maybe double my age, but nothing crazy. Um, just asking like, "Oh, have you been here before?" No. Have you been here before? No. And then like a conversation just sparked, and it just so happened that she used to teach psychology, and I'm a psychology student, and it was just amazing to kind of vibe with her on that level, even though we're at a podcast festival that probably not many people are speaking about psychology, and even she's even giving me some materials that I can kind of read on my own, and that are not necessarily required readings while you're trying to get your degree, but readings that would help me not only in my life but professionally, because obviously college or whatever um a degree that you're trying to get, you're pretty much getting a baseline. Because obviously, when you're out there in the real world, you're gonna get hit with all these curveballs, right? Because we have this saying in the medical field or just in EMS, patients don't read the book, right? They don't read the textbook. So it's best for you to kind of fill yourself with as much knowledge as possible, so that way you don't fall into that trap of being narrow-minded. You have to have your peripherals up all the time and kind of just sit there and embrace it and just realize that it's not always going to be what you thought it was going to be and just go with it. So that's pretty much what she was telling me. And somehow in the conversation, we kind of got to her life and her experiences. And man, she's had an incredible life. The people that she's met, the school that she went to, DePaul University. She talked to me about Chicago and her different experiences there. She talks to me about different relationships that either her family or she's had with Henry Ford, and it was just like a lot of like connections to our history, our history meaning like American history, and it was just pretty dope. And like I said, and then somehow she stumbles on the conversation of she partly the reason why she's here is because she wants to tell her story, and her friend had invited her out and gave her a free ticket, and she should be on the podcast. And I was like, oh wow, that's so cool, like and then she proceeded to tell me like, oh yeah, the reason why is because I'm sick. I was at the doctor, and I'm actually being given some experimental treatment because I have 6 weeks to live according to the doctors. And I was like, what? I was like, did I hear that correctly? She told me perfectly, you know, just a stranger. Like, I don't know this person, never seen her before in my life. It's crowded in here, folks. Like, it probably took me at least 30 minutes just to check in. And that's no knock on Podfest. It just speaks to the level of interest that they were able to generate. And I was happy to wait because I end up having amazing time and wish I could have been there a lot longer. But hearing this woman tell me that she only has 6 weeks to live and she's just literally trying to give me as much information as humanly possible. And just telling me to live your life, and life is short, and this is kind of part of her bucket list, and she's not going to take anything for granted. And it was just a lot, folks. It was a lot, and I was like, yo, this is heavy. And me, I used to work in the medical field, so stuff like that, you kind of hear that a lot, or sometimes you don't really get a chance to hear it. Like, you can tell when someone's dying, and or when someone's not doing well. um and you kind of get that. But when I think I've sort of like trained my mind, or at least tried to, for the last 2 years, three going on three, that I've been removed from the medical field, not to really think about death and dying on a daily basis, because obviously, yes, it happens, and yes, we are faced with it. But I think when you're in EMS, you're faced with it so much that when you remove yourself from it, you're not trying to think about it every second of the day. But to have that like kind of front and center, right there, just really gave me a lot of perspective in a way of which maybe I've forgotten to like really live and to really see and not take anything for granted. You know, she's given me a few books to read. Um, I and it's not, as you know, it's very difficult to leave me speechless, and I probably barely said a couple words to her because you can tell she just wanted me. She just wanted to throw everything she had, like whatever she knew, she wanted me to know, and I was just, just trying to, just put on a baseball mitt, so to speak, and just trying to catch every, free information that she was willing to give, and I was glad to. Like I was glad to just stand there and just not talk, just really actively listen to what this woman is trying to tell me. And the books are Where's My Cheese? I've heard a lot of people, um now I wouldn't say like a lot of people, but obviously the people that in the industry that I'm interested in, which is psychology, have mentioned it, but I didn't really. I don't know. It's like you hear something, you don't. It doesn't really speak to you. It doesn't grab you, so you're kind of like, let me not, or you just don't engage in it. It just becomes a fleeting thought that just never gets brought up again. Somewhere in your long term memory bank. So that's a book that I definitely want to pick up. I'm in the middle of Stephen A. Smith's book, as you know, so that's it's on the list. I got so many things to do. Um, Also a book by or the author she gave me, Lori Beth Jones. She wants me to read The Path, and she has like a bunch of other books that she said I should pick up, even though it's like very Christian based. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I have anything against, that faith. It's just people usually just give you the warning if you don't look like that you're, of that particular religion or whatever, and it was definitely no offense taken because I can definitely understand that. It was just more so about here's the information, take what you will from it, and that's really the type of person I am. I really don't, care what kind of religion you decide to practice because it's your belief, it's your religion, and if that's what you choose to believe, like more power to you. I have no problem dabbling in, different things because that's how you learn. Honestly, like I don't really even need to like the person that I'm hearing the message from. If I hear a message that speaks to me and that can work for me in my life, I'm taking it. I'm taking it and I'm running with it, and then that's that. So I mean, that was just so dope, and that, believe it or not, like even anything else that happened afterwards, and there was so many other great speakers, like I said, and I've gotten a lot of information that I can definitely put into my podcast or even help market it better, or when it comes to merchandise, or even popping up on different podcasts, which I did. I popped up on the One Up podcast. Shout out to you guys. You guys were out there on Cocoa Beach. You guys were nice enough to have me as a guest. I really appreciate that. That was real cool, real dope experience. And that was it. Like, so shout outs to everybody involved, you know what I mean, when it comes to podcasts and trying to get everybody started, or just, older people who are trying to, give some game to the younger generation. I really appreciate that because it came off definitely in a way of let me give you game. Like let me school you, not on some disrespectful, not on some I'm better than you or none of that. Just if you're here to learn, I'm here to teach type thing. And I was all ears. Don't even remember that woman's name, but shout outs to her. I appreciated it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. You already know. I only ask y'all to do one thing: losses equals life lessons. Peace.